On this episode of Purposely Curious, I sit down and talk to Tamika Grier, a master leader in manifestation and a fellow nurse. We discuss astrology as I myself am only now looking a little deeper into this subject that millions, maybe even billions of people around the world follow. Some people live by these and others, like myself, loosely know things about certain signs. So join us as we discover astrology. So get nice and cozy as this episode starts now. Hello, everyone. Today I have Miss Tamika. Say hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
How would you like to introduce yourself?
My name is Tamika Grier, and I am a master leader in manifestation.
Yes.
I'm also a registered nurse.
Yes. We love nurses.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
So I wanted to have her on. I think I was talking to her earlier. I think I want to have more episodes with her.
Yes, yum.
You know, as she said, she does manifestation, or she can explain that to us. But she kept coming up in conversations because, as you guys have heard in previous episodes, I had somewhat of a hard time last year. And the moment I started to look into positive affirmations, I started meditating. I mean, shit just started happening, and my life changed for the better. 100%. I am where I'm supposed to be.
Right.
But what came with that was horoscopes and, you know, the whole zodiac stuff. And the reason I say that is that when I started kind of reading into it, I guess people who were spiritual would then start to talk about horoscopes or zodiacs. And so then I started to listen. But then I noticed how complex it was.
Yes.
Obviously, there's a lot of layers. We're not going to go through a lot of it, just kind of like the basics. But I was telling my friend Elaine, like, you know, people are talking about I'm a Cancer and a rising, you know, I can never pronounce it. Taurus.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think my chart that I had said ascending, and I was like, is ascending the same as rising? And Elaine was a little smart ass and was like, well, it sounds like yes, because they mean the same thing. But, you know, your name would come up, you know, with certain conversations. And I was like, ooh, would you be interested in coming on and just talking?
Yeah, no, like, absolutely. Like, I have always read my horoscope. I have always, when I talk to people, when I find out when their birthday is, it kind of helps me to relate to them a little better. You know, when I'm a Pisces, and when I don't know, I feel like I can spot a Pisces. It's something about the way that they carry themselves, their smile, they're warm. Pisces we just kind of have like this ease and flow. And I don't know. So I just kind of gravitate to people. And when I get to know them, I ask them what their sign is. And it's actually like more of a, I knew that. Or oh, I didn't know. Right. So it's fun. It's fun to kind of see where they lay on the zodiac signs, because I relate it to how I relate to that person and their habits and their characteristics and how they show up in relationships.
So we know that astrology and, you know, like the zodiacs goes back a long time.
Like thousands of years. I mean, I from just like doing just looking over things, like everything is just like set up the way that the moon is set, and what was happening in that time that the moon was in this particular space, and the time that happened, and then it relates to your birthday and the time where you were in the country, and you know what was happening in the whole stratosphere of the universe. And it just kind of it allows for you to like know, like, okay, so if I was born between this time and this time, then I'm an Aries. And if I was born between this time and that time, it's so you get like assigned these zodiac signs.
Who came up with the zodiac? Do you know?
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't.
And it's crazy because it's something that's used worldwide.
Yeah.
So that'd be interesting to look into.
You know, it's so funny. Like I think about it. My mom used to have this book, and it was called it was like an almanac of horoscopes or something.
Mm-hmm.
And she would have like times and all of that. Like she never discussed it with me because we were kids. But now that I think back, she probably did the same thing I did. She probably related people to what sign they were and how she was in connection with them and all of that. So yeah.
So apparently one of the very first concepts of astrology, which is the 12 zodiac signs, were created by the Babylonians in 1894 BC. So that's a
long ass time.
A long ass time. So people are almost certain that it came from the Indo-European nations. And then the Greeks also used constellations as well.
Yeah, but through all that time, it totally got Americanized, right? Like it probably went through so many changes through all of that. It went through so many different people's ideas of all that. So like, is it really legit? I mean, you're talking 18 something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
BC.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine that it went through all these different stages of life? And I had a friend, she told me that her birthday fell on like February 19th. And she's like, I don't know if I'm a Pisces or if I'm an Aquarius. And she's like, because it changed. And I said, no, how could it have changed? Like, you can't change that, right? But if you look back, like years ago, the dates did change. Like if you look back in like 1960, maybe you should look it up and see. Like in 1960, when did Pisces start or Aquarius? That would be interesting in 1960. Let me look that up too. That would be, because if it changed, then it's like, how true can that be?
I think I know what she was talking about. She was probably referring to, I guess certain people were saying that the zodiac signs were off by a month or so.
Yeah.
So me being a Cancer, I would have been a Gemini. And so
Right.
that came up in the recent years. So there's been a debate of whether we're all just a month off.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, we'll have to look into that.
But that's why I say it's interesting, because when you are a specific sign, like for you being a Cancer and for me being a Pisces, there are certain characteristics that we carry as those signs, like I'm pretty sure you met other Pisces before and you're like, oh, they're so warm and they're so nice and they're so sweet. And, or you may meet a Gemini, the whole idea of Gemini being like two-faced and unstable, but they have a big
My
heart.
best friend's a Gemini too.
My sister's a Gemini, and I have a couple of friends that are Geminis too. So, yeah. So, but it's interesting. Like, so I don't necessarily pay attention to the dates. I pay attention to the people and how they show up.
Yeah.
Right.
So there are 12, right? It's Aries, Taurus. Am I saying
Taurus,
it right?
You said it right.
Gemini, Leo, Cancer, Libra, Virgo, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. Did I miss one?
No.
Okay.
No. Do you know people that are all of their signs? Like,
no. So I know Gemini, Leo, Cancers, Scorpios. My mom's a Virgo.
Huh.
I want to say off the top of my head. Who's in May? What sign is May?
Taurus.
Okay, Taurus. I have a few May. Oh, in March?
March is Aries, Pisces, and Aries.
Okay, so a bunch of my cousins, uncles, aunts, and best friends' kids were all in March. So I know a lot of Aries, I guess.
So do you have people that you know are the same sign and they act the same way?
My dad and my brother.
Huh. So what's their sign?
They are Leos,
Oh.
August 19th and August 22nd. They are flirts. They are confident, and they love the woman. And this is the male version, you know. I also have another best friend, same birthday as my
And my daughter is August 20th.
August 20th. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so in that sense, confident, flirtatious, they're all the same. So for sure. My mom being a Virgo and my dad clash a lot. Strong personalities.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
But when it comes to horoscopes, like that's all I really knew was like, I'm a Cancer. I'm supposed to be a great lover in bed. I just had to throw that in there.
Actually,
the
Pisces,
best lover in bed.
Well, no, really. Okay, so let's stay on that because so the water signs are Scorpio, Pisces, and Cancer. And I know from experience that Scorpios are amazing in bed. And I know as a Pisces how passionate, Pisces are in the bed. Now, Cancer, I don't think I've ever been with a Cancer. I have Cancer friends, but I've never been intimate with a Cancer. But I'm saying that to say it's like because they're grouped into that that specific sign, there's some characteristics. Because I know that people are listening are probably like, yeah, I had great sex with a Scorpio before, like, because they're very they pay a lot of attention to details, and they're very passionate, and they're very I don't want to say horny, but they're more like very their sexual it's intense. It's like it's high, like their sex drive is high, and that's what I've like all the Scorpios that I know, like all of them.
And they're a water sign.
And they're water sign.
Like Cancers.
Like Cancer. And Pisces.
Yes.
Yeah.
But going back to what I was saying is like I only knew the basics of like, we're very passionate, we're moody, we don't let anyone in, we're confident, we will be nurturing, but at the same time you fuck with us, you're done. You know?
For sure.
So that's kind of all I knew.
Yeah.
And then what I've noticed as time has progressed is that a lot of people follow it, I was just showing her a message I got from a guy where he was like, so what are you? Like, what sign are you? And that was the first time I had ever been asked that. And I remember before responding, I had text my cousin and I was like, well, if I answer him, is he just going to like not respond to me because he doesn't like what I say? Which is possible.
Yeah.
So I had said like, oh, I'm a Cancer. And he's like, oh, I'm a Pisces. And then he started saying, oh, water signs. So for all of us who don't know, like I didn't realize. So we discussed all 12, right? I didn't realize that then they were split into 4 different subcategories, which is water signs, fire signs, earth signs, and air signs. Do you know why that was put like that? Or
I don't know, but it's so interesting that you say that because I just saw something that I took a picture of, took a screenshot of, and it talks about it. And it said, this is the best way that I can kind of describe the air, water, and the earth and the water. So remember that if you're water, you're cleansing, your flow, and you cry, right? Like, because we're emotional.
I
right?
cry.
Yeah.
Yeah. I cry. I'm watching TV and I cry.
Yeah, I cry at commercials. I cry when I hear a sad story. I cry when I hear a happy story, right?
Yes.
Like, it's a cleansing. It's a flow that we have. Remember that if you're a fire, you burn, you tame, and you ignite. Hello? Yeah.
Leos.
Elaine. Yeah. Remember that you're air. You take a deep breath, you be still, and you focus. And to me, that is like Libra. Libras are, because they're, like the sign of the Libra is like the scale, and you're just keeping your balance, right? And you're like focused, and it's so I understand that. And also for the Earth sign, you ground, you build, and you give. So that's how I kind of look at all the signs, but I'm not sure like where it came from, like why they split it up that way. That's interesting though. That would be interesting to find out.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things that I've heard too. When I started kind of looking into the different types of personalities, or not personalities, like it'll tell you the way the signs are.
Yeah.
I would kind of look at the people I know and I would be like, oh yeah, that's my friend. She likes drama. Yeah, that's her.
Right?
Da, da, da.
Yeah.
And then when I hear Cancer, I'm a hospice nurse. I'm nurturing. I want to teach, so I felt like, okay, this is so me. I'm very passionate when I fall in love. It might not be very often, but when I do, I'm passionate. I'm a crybaby. I'm moody, but I'm also, I very family oriented. So to me, when I hear, and when I heard the sex thing, I was like, yeah. But it's I guess because I'm in this new phase of my life, I'm actually willing to want to learn and look into this. It was definitely was it the I keep wanting to say as a nurse neonatal, but it's not neonatal. It's the natal chart.
Oh, the birth chart.
The birth chart. So I thought, I'm going to look into it. And I put my details, the time I was born, where I was. And it's just crazy layers on layers on
accurate,
layers.
Right. Yeah.
And it's very accurate. I still don't fully understand it, but I read all the descriptions of it.
Yeah.
And it's me to the fucking T.
Yeah.
If you guys want to look these up, you go to the websites. They're usually free. You put your date of birth.
Don't do it unless it's free. Like, because it's
there are free websites. Don't pay for it.
Yeah,
there are free websites. For sure. And it's crazy the amount of stuff. And again, I still don't understand the planets aligning in certain things. The houses, there's different houses.
Yes.
But when I read everything, because it summarized everything, it was me 100%. And I'm like, okay, I'm a believer of the description of because it was 22 pages, guys.
Yeah.
And I've never really believed in any of this. I don't know if you've heard of Walter Mercado. So he was like this horoscope guru in the Spanish culture. He was very flamboyant. There's actually a documentary on Netflix about him.
What's it called?
I don't remember. I have to look it up.
Okay.
I did look at it. So he was like a huge horoscope reader and then kind of just fell off the earth. And so it kind of follows him and why he fell off the earth in that sense. He's no longer with us, but the documentaries, he would do horoscopes daily, and that's what he was famous for. But I never really paid attention to any of that. It's only until recently that because I've been hearing more about it. So I was like, let me look into it. And the more I started looking into it, even though I still don't understand a lot of it, the descriptions I was reading was literally 100% me, and that's what freaked me out. And I was like, oh shit, like
no, I remember like growing up, and my aunt, she had she's a Taurus, and she would have like this painting of this bull in her room, and I just thought it was kind of like not it was non-religious. Like I grew up, Catholic, then I became a Christian and all of that. And I just thought like, that's not of God, so I kind of stayed away from it. And then as I got older, I started like on the spiritual journey of discovering who I was and what I wanted. And when I realized like, okay, so I'm a Pisces, and I've been hearing a lot of people say, oh yeah, it's Pisces season or it's Taurus season or whatever season it is. And I just started looking into it. And I also did the natal chart as well. And it was totally accurate. But there are a couple things that you have to be accurate with. Like you have to know what time you were born. You have to know where you were born, right? Because apparently it's set up with the time and the place that you were born determines the houses that you were talking about, like where the planet was situated at that specific time, right? And so that it's really complex, right?
It really is.
It's really complex, and it's like, but geez, I mean, for me being my sun is in Pisces, which is the same, and my moon is in Leo, and my ascending is in Aries, and they all have a certain meaning, like it's more of how you see yourself and then how others see you as well. So it's really interesting. You really have to do a lot of homework in it, but if you just really just pay attention to people, just for fun, I try not to make, like when I meet a guy and I find out his sign, and I was telling you earlier, I met this guy and he's a Pisces like me, and I was just like, oh God, right? Because I've had like bad experiences with Pisces, and they all end up having the same shit, right? Like it was always the same characteristic that turned me off, whether it be they were inconsistent or they weren't just being upfront and honest. And it happened with all the Pisces men that I, connected with. So I try not to judge people in that way, but just out of curiosity and knowing that I'm a true Pisces, right? And I want to know about this person. And so I kind of base who I connect with, it's not a bad thing. It's not like, okay, she's a Sagittarius, so I don't want to be her friend. It's not that. It's just like, I know that Tauruses are very determined, and they can be bullheaded and they can be stubborn, but they're also very loving, right? So I don't know. I give them the benefit of the doubt, knowing their zodiac sign.
But I was, and talking to her about that, because I'm learning about manifestation and my new spiritual journey that I'm on.
Yes.
I told her, aren't we, when we say, for people who believe this, for example, that are like you said, oh, he's a Pisces, this isn't going to work.
Right.
You already went with that negative thought.
Oh my gosh.
So I told her,
created that.
So I was like, so you kind of manifested then and there that it wasn't going to work. Yeah. So isn't that like, are we doing ourselves a disservice
by judging
people without
on their sign? Yeah.
Because, this is the first time that I'm paying attention to horoscopes and zodiacs, right? So before I was dating people, but
and just dating people, and you didn't know shit about them, right? Yeah. You knew their birthday, but you didn't know.
I wasn't judging them.
Yeah, you weren't judging them.
So I guess my thing is, as a newbie to this new world, which I really want to learn is me hearing you say that, my thought was like, well, did that mean at that moment you manifested that it wasn't going to work?
I totally did. Because of my past experiences, and sometimes we move through life with holding on to either good or bad experiences. Like, that you've had cotton candy when you were 5, and when you have it at 20, it's still going to be good. Right. So that's like how I kind of looked at when I interact or I'm in a relationship with a guy who's the same sign as me, right? It's just like certain things that show up that's just always consistent. And I can't help but to say, oh yeah, well, he's, he's a Pisces,
At that point, you've manifested.
And I manifested it.
Negativity.
The negativity, and it didn't work. And yeah, like it's like I sabotaged myself just because I looked at the fact that he was a Pisces, and I've had bad experiences with Pisces. And it's not a good thing, but it still can serve you though, right?
Yeah,
because you kind of have like an idea of this person. It's almost like you give them the benefit of the doubt, and it's not totally accurate all the time. And I don't necessarily depend on someone's zodiac sign and me relating to them. It's just kind of fun for you to, get to know somebody and realize it's like, oh, like my sister is a Gemini, and, I have like 2 other really good friends that are Geminis, and they are just, they're fucking the same thing, right? Like they're just like, so it's just, they just have the same ways of being, but they're different people, right? They're different people. But
and I agree with you, because I told you I've dated like 3 guys that I've been in love with, and they were all born within 30 days. 2 of them were Geminis. My first 2 were Geminis. And I was like, I never noticed that. I was like, I guess I've only dated people that were born in this time frame. I was like, oh, interesting. So I'm still trying to learn about that, because also one of my best friends. Why did you
attract that? Why do you think you attracted that? I said the same thing. I dated a guy, all my last boyfriends. One, his birthday was April 24th. The next one was April 25th. And then the next one was April 30th. And these were long-term relationships, right? These were people, and of course they were Tauruses. And it's like, how did I attract that? Like, what is it about a Taurus that I kept attracting? And Tauruses are really grounded people. And Pisces, when I think of a Pisces, I think of like, fish swimming in the ocean, and they're just like kind of like doing whatever they want. Where Tauruses, they're more grounded, and they're focused, and they know what they want, and it grounds me, right? So it's interesting. So when you being a Scorpio and you're attracting Geminis, like that.
Well, I'm a Cancer.
Oh yeah. But still water sign, but still.
Yeah. So she was basically mentioning that she attracted people, or she was in relationships with these people who were born with it. And then as she was saying that, I was like thinking of my relationships, and I was like, holy shit, they were born in like in the 30 days. Yeah. They were all
people
born.
People should like people that are listening, like,
I need a date outside of
your
that
relationships and see the similarities of the birthdays, like how close your ex-boyfriends or your ex-girlfriends was. That would be like so interesting to find out. Like,
yeah. So what if you guys do that? If you guys are listening, look at the people you've dated or the person you're dating. Think of their personalities, look up their sign, and just read it. Find one that's in depth and see if it matches your friends, the people you dated, or your loved ones.
That's what we do. That's all I did. I would just read different articles, not just one website. I would just go to different ones just to kind of like see if they're saying the same thing. And that's how I kind of discovered certain things about certain signs. It's like, oh, okay, well, yeah, that's true about them, And there's some things that people just write just to be writing, and trying to sound like a know-it-all or whatever. But for the most part, they're pretty kind of spot on. You know, it's not the truth, but it's like it kind of puts you on a path, like, oh, all right, like I get it, so it's fun. It's crazy too, because in my household, when I say my household, it's who I grew up with. We don't live together anymore, but it's like my dad
My brother are Leos. My mom's a Virgo, and I was a Cancer. We all have very strong personalities.
Yeah.
Like no one budges.
I can imagine.
No one budges.
Oh, geez.
Super strong personalities. But I would say I'm the peacemaker.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because I see it now when I read the descriptions of Leos, my dad, my brother. My mom is hard-headed, a fighter. She'll fight with my dad. Like,
and your mom's a Virgo.
She's a Virgo. Oh, yeah. And my mom will be like, not with me, honey.
Yeah.
So I'm usually like, okay, calm down, kids. Like, the mediator. And now that I read everything, I'm like, okay, it makes sense.
Right.
But when I do get mad in the household, right, I would put my foot down and be like, no. But it was definitely very strong personalities. And then I know there are family members that are very quiet and reserved. And then when I started reading the signs of their birthdays, I was like, oh, that's why she's like that. Like, yeah. And it's crazy because I've only started kind of looking into this now. I know I've mentioned TikTok before in other episodes, but I've learned so much, and there's a lot of comedy with zodiacs on TikTok that really make me laugh. Yeah. But I've learned a lot, and so they present things in such a way that I want to learn more.
Yeah, because it's fun.
Yeah.
If you ever went on YouTube, or if you ever visited a website and they're talking about astrology, most of them will say things like, this is only interpreted for fun and entertainment, right? Like, that's their disclaimer about it, right? Like, don't go on and end a relationship just because this person is a Aries, you know, like it's not that deep, but it's supposed to kind of give you like a little bit of awareness, and a little fun, and and people who believe it or believe in it, like, they kind of gravitate to what they read, right? Like, if they read up their sign, they're like, oh, that's me. And then they start kind of like acting like it, Yeah. Are those fish? What is that on your book? Are they?
Oh, it's a little dog.
It's a dog? Oh, I thought they were fish. Oh, it's so funny.
It's cute, right?
Yeah, it's so cute. I thought they were fish. I'm like, oh my gosh, like Cancer, water. Oh, wow.
No. I have like this notebook I carry around when I'm not. I have a lot of journals and notebooks, but this is the one I carry with me when I'm recording outside.
I know I have a lot of notebooks too.
Yeah.
Notebooks, journals, like, gosh, if someone was to read like all my journals and stuff, oh my gosh, it's like so much like things in my head that I just put down in my journals. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah. So what would you say I want everyone to really find out obviously you guys know your date of birth. You guys should try, if you don't know, ask your parents or see if you can check your birth certificate, what time you were born. Go online and get that natal chart.
Yeah. Find out the exact
time, state,
that you were in.
And it go to a website, like the one that I got for free was at Astrology Cafe, and it'll give you like a full-on print PDF that you can save. But I read everything. It's a lot more complex because there's the moon, the sun rising, all that stuff. I'm not even anywhere near that. But when I read the 22 pages, I was like 100% me, because it talks about career. I was like on it, creativity, finance, everything. And I was like,
it breaks it down.
Damn. I was like, yep, check. Everything for me. So I guess if you're born at a certain time, different location, where everything falls, so even though we're both Cancers, for example, my thing will be different than yours.
Yeah, my moon would may be different, or my ascending would be different.
Right.
Yeah,
and
just based
I'm
on
not
where
there
I am.
yet. Yeah, I'm not there yet to teach you guys anything about it, but when I printed it out, I was like, okay, so this is me based on Cancer.
Yeah.
This is when I was born. This is the alignments of stuff at that time. and it broke down everything and every aspect of my life. And 100% I was like, I've done all of that. This is me. And I was like, oh shit, I'm a believer.
you should like, there's a lot of people, because there are a lot of people that are doing astrology and reading signs and everything that are just like, just bullshit, right? But there are some people that are like really, like, they study the houses and they know what happens in the house, and they know what happens when the full moon is in Jupiter or a new moon is in Aquarius, right? Like, they know that shit. And like, there are like people that you can study from who have like workshops, they do courses. There was a guy, his name is Sal. Gosh, I can't remember his last name. Sal is like so freaking amazing. And he came to LA like right before the whole pandemic. And he literally charged like maybe $1,200 to do a workshop on breaking down your natal chart, right? And I'm like, wow, that's a lot of money to kind of break. I mean, you got it for free. But of course, you want to know more about what happens in this house, because there are certain times in the year that things show up that you can either prepare for or watch out for. Like they say, whenever there is, gosh, I don't want to get this wrong because it was so good when she told it to me. Whenever there's it's not a new moon. I think it's the full moon. Like, whenever there's a full moon, you're not supposed to like have, and this is for entertainment purposes. Like, you're not supposed to have like any type of major surgery or sign any major documents or something. And I thought that was like really interesting because, you know, I mean, we've kind of created the full moon as being like a crazy time. You know, I mean, as nurses, we work, and when we come outside and we see the full moon, we're like, no wonder it was crazy as hell.
Guys, that's real. So our patients or families act up
whenever there's a full moon,
and we might not realize it, and then someone will be like, is it a full moon today?
Yes.
And someone will be like, yeah, and we're like, oh, that explains it. They act up, guys.
Yeah. That's
but like, I did not equate, like, it was just like, it's a full moon, okay, that makes sense, but I didn't realize there's more complexity. I can tell you personally, since I was a kid, I've always had vivid dreams. Didn't really put two and two together until I was older. I had dreams of that I was pregnant all the time, here and there. And when I had a dream, I would realize, after I noticed a pattern, like 2 weeks later, I would find out someone was pregnant. And I've stopped having those dreams in the last few years. But I would be like, someone's pregnant, and I would tell my friends, and then I'd be like, oh, we found out who's pregnant. Like, but it was always me being pregnant. And then what I noticed as I got older is, like, I have vivid dreams, right? No rhyme, no nothing, but there's vivid dreams that I have. And then one day I realized I have vivid dreams, and I had one yesterday. It's right when the full moon is coming, like days before. I'll have it for that whole week, vivid dreams, and then I won't dream for shit for like 3 weeks. But it's only until recent that I noticed I have vivid dreams around the moon. So I had told someone about that, and they're like, ooh, girl, you got some connections there.
That's interesting.
But it's not like I dream. What I dream isn't necessarily mean shit. Like, I could dream about, you know, I'll have a nightmare. Like, sometimes I would have nightmares and wake up like I was like fucking cholos from East LA were trying to kill me. Random shit. Like, But when I have vivid dreams, it's literally right as the new moon is about to, the full moon, right? The full moon is Sunday?
Full moon is Sunday.
So it's like the first 3-4 days before the full moon, I have vivid dreams all those nights. And I've only in the last few years noticed a pattern that it happens right a few days before the full moon.
Wow.
Now, I don't know why.
That's funny. A friend of mine, she for some reason, she has this thing where when she starts her cycle, it's always around like a full moon,
Yeah.
right? And I'd never really asked her why she thinks that, or what's the significance in that, but there must be some type of alignment that happens for her during the full moon, and even with you in your dreams too. Like that's,
for sure. I'm a believer now, because I don't think sometimes we realize, like, we as nurses or doctors, we know, okay, it's full moon, it's fucking, that explains,
it's crazy.
That explains the craziness, right? But yeah, it took me, I'm like, why do I always dream? And I think when I was starting to understand the moon more, I was like, oh, I have vivid dreams days before a full moon. And then I noticed when I started to track it, I was like, oh shit, it's every month. Yeah. And it's always 3 to 4 days before I have vivid ass fucking dreams. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know why though.
Yeah.
Someone explain that to me.
Yeah. Like that's interesting. Well, I mean, because, from what I've experienced, just like reading some things and just being in circles of people that talk about the full moon and the new moon, but the full moon, like it illuminates what's happening in your life, so it's supposed to bring light to what you're experiencing. And, there's a whole nother world of dreams too. Like, you can like have a dream and it could be totally related to something. And like I remember my mom would say to because my mom was very superstitious. Like if you I couldn't cross like a pole. I couldn't split a pole. Like she would say, don't split a pole. That's bad luck. And I'm like, what the fuck? Or she would say, if I'm sweeping with a broom and it hits her foot, she would spit on the broom.
Oh, wow. That's very superstitious.
Very superstitious, right? So I remember she would talk to her sisters and her friends, and she would have dreams about people getting pregnant. And like she would say, yeah, I dreamt that somebody, that Ashley was pregnant or something. And they would relate pregnancy to death. And so I always kind of thought that was kind of scary. And I looked it up, through the years, and I realized that it wasn't a death like someone actually dying. It was more of a death of a situation, or a relationship. Right. And so because you were talking about someone being pregnant and then 2 weeks later they end up being pregnant, I'm like, wow, that's interesting, because the way that I saw it, it was more of, there was a beginning. So there was a beginning in my dream, but it had to be an end in my reality. Right. So that's how I kind of looked at the whole pregnancy thing.
Yeah. I think it just varies.
It does. But how inconsistent.
Yeah. Very inconsistent.
That's inconsistent, like
so,
totally.
Definitely, as you guys heard, I'm looking into astrology and I'm looking into zodiac signs, but I'm not looking at any of yours signs. So don't feel like I'm going to be like, oh, you're a Pisces, right. Or no. Yeah. I'm just trying to learn about my, as a Cancer, and I wrote them down, but I've learned this because apparently I'm a Cancer, rising Taurus. My moon is Taurus. Mercury is Taurus. Venus is Leo. Mars is Cancer. Jupiter is Sagittarius. Saturn is Libra. Uranus is Sagittarius. Neptune is Sagittarius. Pluto is Libra. So, whatever, if you guys know what that means as far as me. But yeah, I got a lot to learn. So I would suggest you guys kind of look into the natal chart again, find out what time you were born, put it in. It's very complex, but if you read it, just read it with open mind, and then you'll be like, oh, maybe this is a lot like me. Because when I read mine, it was a lot like me. And then I would just, if you just want to make a list of people you love, friends, people you've dated, look
just for fun.
Look at their birthdays and look at the traits of these people and see if it matches.
You know what I found when I did that, when I first started doing it, in each stage of my life, we're always like discovering a new level for ourselves, right? So for some reason, for me, like reading about a Pisces kind of reminds me of not who I am. I know who I am, but it's just like, it reminds me that yes, I am caring, but I can also be oversensitive about things, right? So it helps me in my journey of self-discovery, just knowing that, okay, these are some of the characteristics of a Pisces, and I don't know, it just gives me a little bit of comfort. I don't know. It's interesting because I can go back to it through my journey of, because we're all in a journey. We're all trying to figure out shit. We're trying to figure out who we are, what we want.
I'm 37 and I'm trying to figure out shit.
Yeah, right.
Now.
So it's just another way of self-discovery that can be fun. I mean, you don't have to attach yourself to it and make it the end all of end alls, but it's a tool.
It's a tool. Just don't be judgmental, guys. Yes, some people are obsessed with it.
There are people that are obsessed,
live by it, but just I say do this homework, make a list of people's names in your life
and just see,
look it up, and then just be like, okay, my dad's a Leo. Look up Leo, read into it, and chances are you're gonna be like, yeah, that's my fucking dad. Like,
and test it on people. Maybe like people that you work with, and you say, "Oh, what's your birthday?" And they find out that they're Leo, and then you can say, "Oh shit, no wonder."
Because I just found out that
found out about Leos.
Leos are flirtatious and confident. And I'm just kidding. So I thank you for being on so we can talk about zodiacs and our lack of knowledge, or my lack of knowledge, and my excitement in learning this. But I definitely do want to have you back. We're going to do a manifestation one.
Oh my gosh, I cannot wait.
Yeah.
That's gonna be so
and I'm
good.
going to quickly, guys, to tell you guys, I've never been one to believe in meditation before my COVID anxiety fueled little like emotional breakdown I had with work and everything. I did, and I told Elaine, I one day was like, I'm going to try. I started meditating, and I noticed that I would let my mind go to where the meditation told me to go.
Right.
But I did a manifestation meditation, and I fucking was crying.
Yeah.
And I told her, I was like, I was crying, but I wasn't sad. I was crying of happiness. And I was like, oh shit. And I love Russell Brand, who's the comedian to some of you guys, but I've read his books and I follow him, but I just never understood him the way I understand him now.
Yes.
Because I never meditated. I never, anyways. So I want to have her back so we can talk about manifestation. And earlier, I told her, when you said, oh, he's a Pisces, I was like, wasn't that you manifesting right off the bat it wasn't going to work?
Because we manifest even when we are not conscious of it. But when you're conscious of manifestation, man, shit is amazing.
Yes. And that's what I want to, maybe we can do a series.
Ooh,
and we can start off with the basics. And manifestation doesn't just mean you're only manifesting positive stuff. What I've learned is that sometimes when we are manifesting negativity, and so I want to delve into that because where I'm in a spiritual journey, and I kid you not, guys, shit is happening for me the moment I started changing my thought process. So I'm going to have her back, and we're going to talk about what she's an expert of, and that's manifestation. But at the same time, there's different forms of manifestation. Like it's not just meditating. Like I had no idea. I just picked this manifestation meditation. I just picked it. Like I wasn't with an intention of crying or anything. And I was crying of happiness because of what I saw in my mind.
Right. Yeah.
So I think this will be very interesting. So I'm really excited.
Be really interesting because it's something that going through 2020, like it totally supported me. Like I literally manifested a summer love. I manifested checks coming in the mail. And I know that sounds like so, you know, the secret type ish, right? But really, like when you're consciously being clear about what you want, it will show up in your life.
Yeah. Oh, so, yeah. I believe it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do my homework for that episode because I have heard Oprah.
Oh gosh,
talk about manifestation. Big Sean talk about manifestation.
Yes.
I mean, these are people who are openly talking about their manifestations.
Yeah.
And so I will bring those quotes to the episode so that everyone can relate and kind of, you know, if you guys are interested to learn about it, I think because of what I've experienced, and again, I'm just starting, I'm like, holy shit. Like,
yeah. It's fun too.
Yeah,
it's fun when you know the steps that you get to take to produce something that will support you in your life. You become a master at it. You know, it's like, oh, okay. Yep. And then, you know, I heard someone say, you know, what doesn't work for you works for you. Right? Like you just trusting the process that, hey, okay, well, this didn't show up. There's a reason why it didn't show up, you know, the way that you wanted it to. Like you wanted to be in Hawaii next week, but instead of Hawaii, you're going to Florida, right? So it's just, it's
perspective.
There's so many different levels to it. So I would love to come back. That would be fun.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, me too.
Well, thank you for joining.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I loved it.
Yes. And then thank you guys for listening, and be ready for those manifestation, positive thinking episodes. So it's going to be, I want you guys to kind of feel what I'm feeling right now in my life. And like, no joke. Like, So, all right, everyone. Bye. That was episode 51 of the Purposely Curious podcast. Make sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on most podcast platforms. And follow us on social media at Purposely Curious on Instagram and at Purposely C Pod on Twitter. That's Purposely, the letter C, Pod. Until next time, you know what to do.